Hello, and welcome back to the Fae Banner Review, where we talk about Fae banners and things surrounding Fae. Like this new background image, thank you Fae, it will be replacing the old one. Today, we have a brand new mythic banner featuring Tiki Fire Emblem, the first non-OC mythic in over a year, and it's a pretty cool choice. Don't expect another one for the rest of the book, and as per tradition, I will be using this coveted small line graph that may or may not be small at the end of the day to rank the brand new mythic banner, as well as the circle graph that may or may not be a circle at the end of the day alongside it. Today's rankings will be based on how many support effects the average unit has nowadays, and if you want someone to read out millions of paragraphs of text and effects for you, then make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you, I'd really appreciate it. Our mythic this time around is none other than Tiki, which is both surprising and unsurprising. Surprising because I thought they'd sooner choose anyone else to make a mythic, so this is a welcome surprise. And unsurprising because the odds of them making an actual new mythic at this point in the game is virtually zero. But hey, it's far from a bad choice at least, I like it a fair bit. Here's to our only non-OC mythic in over a year. Anywho, Tiki comes with Awakening Voice, which is a slaying dragon effective dragonstone that has built-in adaptive damage. It grants +6 attack and res, breath, and the Fire Emblem status to herself and allies within 3 spaces of her at the start of the player phase or enemy phase. She gets Spectrum 15 during combat, 25 true damage, 15 true damage reduction, an additional 15 true damage reduction when a foe's special goes off. She inflicts Scowl on the foe's first attacks if she meets a res check, and for herself and allies within 3 spaces, she completely negates stat and bonus neutralization after start of turn effects go off during either phase and from dual and harmonic buttons. Oh boy. And an ongoing trend of making units completely awful lately, Mythic Loki and Summer Thor are now the ones being impacted by a new addition. Except I don't really care about it in this case. I think having some form of counterplay to them is nice, especially since they're not outright worthless now. Mythic Loki and Summer Thor are still going to be incredible support units for summoner duels because there's only one Tiki. Maybe not for the modes that only use one team, but there's still plenty useful there regardless. That said, Mythic Loki in Aether Raids is dunzo since Tiki's a light mythic, and Summer Thor, well, no one was using her in Aether Raids because of Duel's Hindrance, so this doesn't impact her whatsoever. Good job for not getting any worse in that mode, Thor. Maybe she'll pull a Fryer and become a dedicated defense mythic for the other season, but there totally isn't a unit that gets around her in that season, right? Regardless, preventing bonus negation is obscenely strong, and if they removed every other effect from her weapon, she'd still probably be just as desirable. Okay, maybe slightly less desirable because she does have other notable support in her kit, but it really is just that good of an effect. Beyond her main gimmick, the start of phase bonuses Tiki gives out are pretty great too. Fire Emblem has built-in bonus doubler 4, true damage reduction, and neutralizes class effectiveness. It's an incredibly strong bonus that I'm glad they reprinted. And breath, well, you can't win them all, but similarly to her bonus gimmick, it's also applied to everyone within 3 spaces, which is fantastic. It being within 3 spaces is incredible since it basically guarantees it will hit every ally necessary. Just have her in slot 3 or 4 in Aether Raid's offense, and now everyone is hit with Tiki support. And this is all capped off with her combat effects, which don't get me started with that one. Generic copy and pasted effects that we've seen over the past 5 months, but it has Scowl in it now. Ooh, so I guess that's something. Honestly, if it weren't for the addition of Fire Emblem, I probably wouldn't care that much, but even then, that's leaning in support territory for me more. Tiki's support is so incredible that her combat feels irrelevant to me, and it's only taking her weapon into account. Not that it will be bad. It might be bad, but I really couldn't tell you one way or another. I just think it's overshadowed by everything else. Preventing Loki and Thor from removing bonuses is just that good. But if there's anything to take away from this unit, it should be this. The real winner in the end is Nurgle because he isn't affected by Tiki whatsoever. They're gonna nerf him in a week, aren't they? Tiki also comes with a PRFB slot in Air Divinity, which has built-in distant counter and phantom res +5. It inflicts -5 attack, speed, defense, and res on foes during combat, grants 20% res-based true damage and true damage reduction, 2 special jumps before the foe's first attack, and for any foe on the map with less res than Tiki at the start of combat, they're inflicted with -5 attack, speed, defense, and res, take 10 true damage, cannot make a follow-up attack, and suffer guaranteed follow-up attacks. Wow, that's amazing! like just fine. It's fine, yeah. For what it is, I like it a fair bit, but man, her weapon really is doing all the heavy lifting here. I don't think anything was going to compare to the bonus neutralization negating effect, but I also wasn't expecting it to. That, and it'd be pretty ridiculous if she had something on that level in her B slot as well. That's how we end up with units that make people question why they put up with the game, like a Legendary Elise. But yeah, Air Divinity has some nice aspects to it at least. Combat-wise, it's quite literally the standard stuff we've been getting, and nothing about it is particularly great or awful. It has the standard true damage and true damage reduction, counter fighter, distant counter, etc. that I feel like the past several armors already got. It's not bad whatsoever, but it's just there. Really, the aspect of the B slot I like is the support because it's more on top of what she already provides from Awakening Voice. Additional stat swings, true damage, and follow-up shenanigans is nice on top of it. I wouldn't say they're outright amazing effects, but the benefit to them is that they require no setup whatsoever, and it's map-wide. Just having map-wide support for those effects means she'll contribute something somewhere no matter what. That and not having to set up anything whatsoever is pretty silly, even if they're somewhat tame effects. Back in my day, you had to work for those extra stats during combat. Regardless, it's more support on top of what Tiki already does, which is already appreciated. And it's not like stat swings and true damage won't be useful. They're generally applicable effects. But besides that, it's nothing spectacular, but it doesn't have to be. I think Mythic Tiki already does a lot as is, and it's not in a way that I feel like is overbearing or overcorrecting to additions they made in the past. Mind you, Tiki is ridiculously strong, but it doesn't feel as bad in this case, or at least to me it doesn't. It's not like a Elise, Sakura, insert OC of your choice here, but it's pretty up there in usefulness as is. Tiki isn't going anywhere for the foreseeable future. She's probably going to outlive her fodder at the very least, which for modern Fae standards, that's pretty dang good. And speaking of which, Mythic Tiki also comes with Diluvial Boost, Higher Ground, and a brand new, sorta new, special in Armored Ice Cap, which is just Armored Flare but attack and res instead of attack and defense. That's cool, yeah. It's a bunch of armor fodder, which, yeah, shocker, she's an armor unit. Of course, she's going to have armor fodder, but it's nothing we haven't seen already. Diluvial Boost is still arguably the go-to A slot for armor since it's a lot of tanking stats. 5 HP and +9 to attack, defense, and res is pretty good. Higher Ground is really the only skill that's difficult to pass around since it only works on armored dragons and beasts. I honestly don't mind these skills still, despite Corn Ring and skills like Heavenly Soar existing. I think having it unconditionally is pretty good, and now with these new armored specials having the twin save effect built in, it's not as competitive to slot in. Competitive in the sense of save skill 1 or save skill 2. What else is the average armor going to run anyway? I'm honestly hoping we get a defense and res version of these new specials. That's when it will really go crazy. But yeah, it sure is armor fodder. Good armor fodder, but armor fodder nonetheless. Not that most armors come pre-built or anything, but you know, it's still good technically. And other than that, that sure is Mythic Tiki. Negating bonus removal is good, the end. She does more than that, but it really is doing everything that matters. Loki and Thor are still so dominant, and Nurgle is continuing to come back from the dead, so having a unit that could deal with 2 of them is going to be desirable no matter what. Still, she has a lot of support besides that, what with the map-wide stat swings, follow-up manipulation, true damage, the Fire Emblem. Even so, the bonus protection will keep her relevant for a while, even if she can't tank whatsoever. I'm not sure if her tanking capabilities will be that great, but worst case scenario, you could just make her into a support armor. Strat Assault and Instruct exist, so it can only be so bad, especially since her B slot is a support skill. But we'll have to see how that fares once people summon for her and test it out. And speaking of which, what's a mythic banner without a mythic banner share? Everyone loves those. When it's a good month, this is not one of those months. Tiki is sharing with Laurother and Emblem Micaiah, which is definitely a color share. That is the nicest thing I could say about it. Laurother is weird because it's not like he got that much worse as a unit in support per se. The game's just been moving at such a breakneck pace that it's hard to remember he exists when units come out with kits like this and are considered mediocre. He's just not as necessary as before, but he can definitely put in the work if need be. Inflicting assigned decoy on foes hasn't really aged at all. His fodder, on the other hand, Fortune and Barricade. Wow, that sure is bad. It makes him being here a lot more awkward because of it. Micaiah's fodder isn't that crazy either, but she's an emblem at least. Although you could make the same point with her that you could with Laurother, except a one-off copy of Micaiah is good to have. She's still one of the better supports we have right now, and she's an emblem with a good ring effect, but additional copies won't do you much of anything either. Still, both of them are pretty solid for what it's worth. Can't really go wrong with a unit that inflicts a signed decoy or an emblem if you don't have a copy of either. Can't imagine most people don't have either of them at this point, but anything to make the share seem better than it actually is. It could be worse, I guess. You could be the green share. That has Emblem, Lyn, Hathorn, and Legendary Male Corrin. Can I go back to talking about the colorless share instead? Emblem, Lyn, blah blah blah, she's an emblem, blah blah blah, she has no fodder, blah blah blah. If you don't already own a copy, then this isn't the banner to grab her on, honestly. Fighting for a copy with Hathorn and Corrin sharing is asking to get messed up. Hathorn is at least a decent defense mythic still, but it's not like we're short on action eco at this point. Not helped by the fact that her fodder is just incredibly outdated. And Legendary Male Corrin. Well, he was already incredibly outdated on debut, so what does that make him now? Prehistoric? Guys, gals, and all the other pals in my audience, if you ever feel bad about yourself, just remember, Legendary Male Corrin exists, and that means you're succeeding in ways that he never will. This share sucks. The blue share picks up a bit with Hother, Entwined Sharena, and Rearmed Soren at least. Hother is still a required defense mythic to have a properly functioning team, so by default she's going to be good. Fodder-wise though, not so much. However, if you care about Aether's defense at all, then you're going to need a copy regardless. Entwined Sharena, meanwhile, is actually pretty great. Giving out map-wide Gale Force to an ally support is incredibly strong and can make clearing defense teams a lot easier. I would say she's a strict upgrade to Brave Sharena in almost every aspect, but you can still get away with just using the older version. Older by 2 months. Isn't Power Creep something else? And Rearmed Soren is fine, I guess. His arcane is decent, but that's the extent of his usefulness. I can't say I'm a huge fan of him as a support, but he's far from bad. Worst case scenario, he could duplicate fodder, which is always nice. And finally, there's the red share with Balder, Chosen, Alphonse, and Stefan. Balder is literally just Hother, but for Dark Season, so do with that what you will. You're going to need her for Aether's defense as well. Meanwhile, Chosen Alphonse is okay enough. Fodder-wise, he's nothing that great, but as a unit, he's nothing that great. He's fine, but we also have a copy for free, so this really only appeals to those who care about Arena specifically. And Stefan is okay, question mark. I don't want to say he's bad because he's got Harrowing Call and Brutal Tempest, which isn't the worst. As a unit though, he's incredibly forgettable. I'm not really a big fan of him being here. And you may have noticed that throughout each color, I was struggling to say that many positive things about them. This is a reference to the fact that this banner lineup is incredibly awful. It's not Emblem Edelgard levels of bad, but it's pretty down there regardless. We got one good end of the month banner in January and they call it quits after. This really is a landmine banner, which is unfortunate because Tiki herself is incredible, but I don't think it's worth the risk at all. And that's it. Yep. Okay, bye. And now that we've gone over the brand new mythic unit, I think it's time we rank the banner on the small line graph that may or may not be small at the end of the day. And would you look at that? The brand new mythic banner has earned an 8 out of 10. On the small line graph. And based on my understanding of the banner, I believe that would be best fit somewhere around this area of the circle graph. While the unit herself is really good, everything surrounding them brings it down significantly. And significantly might be putting it lightly. And you may be wondering to yourself, is the banner that bad that it's worth skipping? And while it is tempting to summon on, I'd probably just skip the banner. Tiki is really, really strong between all of her support and that's it. I don't really care about her combat too much. That said, negating Mythic Loki and Summer Thor alone is already amazing, but that's coupled with all the other support she gives out at the start of the phase and globally. Tiki is going to last a long while, even when their combat completely falls off. That said, the units she's sharing with on top of everything else on the banner makes it so difficult to recommend pulling on. Leirother and Emblem Micaiah are not great shares for Tiki, especially if you already have a copy of either. I think if Leirother was swapped out for someone else, it could have been salvaged, but even then, additional copies of Micaiah isn't helping much. This isn't helped by the rest of the banner's lineup either, since all of the colors have a unit with basically nothing to their name. If you just want to get in and out as quickly as possible, then full circles will be the way to do it, yet something on any of the shares can ruin it. There's really no safe option here besides only summoning on colorless, which isn't even safe either. I don't think it's worth prioritizing this banner, and you'd be best to wait for a better share. If there's any banner to prioritize right now, it's the Hero Rises one, which has a great assortment of units and fodder. That said, the banner is going to last for a while, so there's no real rush to summon on it currently. The CYO Harmonics banner is going away in a week, and it's a pretty good banner too. Celica and Fiorum are really good, and the rates are higher because of the color share and only having 3 units on it. There's also going to be a new seasonal banner in a week if you just want to wait and see what that has as well. But besides that, there's not a whole lot else to go out of your way for. It's unfortunate, but the banner share really does hurt it in the grand scheme of things. If you do want her though, I'd probably wait and see who she's rerunning with if you're willing to wait. Otherwise, best of luck, because one wrong circle and you'll end up getting pity broken by Legendary Male Corrin or something. At that point, I'd never want to summon again, TBH. 2BH. To be quite H. Seriously, can they just kick this guy out of the pool? They should have done this when he debuted.
You do have candy, right?